I'm the Gentleman Wake, and in this episode we take a look at one of my favorite decks of 2022 so far by one of my favorite designers. Plus, I have a really cool giveaway that I think you'll love to be a part of. And remember, for the best in content for the tabletop and playing card fan, click like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. One of the things I've resolved to do in 2022 is to really focus my deck reviews on decks that I have a strong affinity for, rather than just reviewing any deck that comes across my desk. Fact of the matter is, putting together videos like these takes a fair bit of time, and I want to make sure that that time is well spent, which brings us to the focus of this episode, a deck I believe is well worth the time and effort to take a look at. Before we get into the deck review, however, I want to remind anyone out there who might in fact be looking for a gorgeous deck of cards that my latest Kickstarter campaign, The Successor, is off to a resounding start. I was extremely surprised and humbled to see such a show of support as we achieved the $99,000 funding goal in less than 5 minutes.
And we are funded.
And now the campaign has raised $271,000 in just over 1 week, with a little under 3 weeks to go, which is astonishing. This is a very ambitious campaign, and no corners were cut in bringing backers the absolute pinnacle of luxury playing cards. There's a link in the description below if you would like to add your name to the just under 1,000 backers who have already decided to support what we do here. And to all those who have already backed it, thank you very, very much. All right, now on to the review. These are the Pharmacy on Main decks from Meadowlark Playing Cards. Produced via a successful Kickstarter of their own, the Pharmacy on Main decks come in various different editions, all of which come packaged in metal embossed tin boxes, the kind anyone familiar with Altoid mints would immediately recognize. The decks include the Classic Edition with its off-white tin and off-white tuck case, the Premium Edition with a mint green tin and mint green tuck box. The Pharmacist Edition, limited to 500, includes the same off-white tin as the Classic, with an added letterpress sleeve and an exclusive tuck box design. There's also a fourth Supreme Edition that I unfortunately do not own. The Meadowlark Playing Cards Company has a pretty interesting story. Evidently, the playing cards were originally conceived as a method to help drum up business for Nebraska-based pharmacy owners and business partners, Lindsay Bentley and Jonathan Lamarck. Jonathan, an avid card collector, had the idea to produce a deck, so he headed over to Behance, and there he found and conscripted Russ Gray to design the first deck any of the three had ever been a part of. Lindsay and Jonathan liked Russell's design for the deck so much that eventually they settled on crowdfunding to make it happen. They found immediate success on Kickstarter, and things quickly escalated, shifting from making cards to use as a marketing tool to making cards as a fledgling business. Since then, they've also worked with designer Elettra Deganello on a couple of releases. The Pharmacy on Main deck is the fourth project for the brand and sees the return of Russell Gray as designer. I recently named Russ my designer of the year for 2021, in no small part to the spectacular work he put together for Theory 11 in that year, culminating with the fantastic Harry Potter decks. This deck may actually be my favorite deck Russ has ever designed, at least so far. The Pharmacy on Main decks come in gorgeous foil embossed tuck cases printed on premium white cardstock, as you'll see shortly. The Classic and Premium editions share a tuck design, the front of which features a large logo type that reads Main Street Pharmacy, Meadowlark decks written in much smaller font underneath. The design features a bunch of elements you'd associate with pharmacies, including the mortar and pestle used to powder grind medications, the traditional RX symbol synonymous with the word prescription, and at the top a cork top medicine bottle. The sides of the box are identical and both read Meadowlark Playing Cards. The bottom includes the traditional ad copy, including mention of designer Russ Gray and the manufacturer Legends Playing Card Company. More on them in a bit. The top reads Meadowlark Pharmacy underneath a tax stamp seal. White for the premium deck and black for the classic. The backs of the tucks are a 1-to-1 representation of the cards inside, that in the case of the premium deck is as accurate as I've seen represented on a tuck case, as you'll see in a moment. The Pharmacist edition has a variant tuck case, equally well designed. The front of the box features a portrait of a pharmacist as plucked from the imagination of someone who was just asked to imagine what a pharmacist looks like, down to the horseshoe pattern male baldness and the glasses. It's a taste of the phenomenal artwork Russ has in store for the inside of the cards. The back of the tuck has a gorgeous 1-to-1 representation of the Ace of Spades. We'll get into that in a moment as well. Pulling the tuck flaps out reveals the only major gripe I have with these decks: the flimsy cardstock. Typically, I prefer when decks are printed on colored stock, usually in the weights of 270 to 310 grams per square meter. These tucks, printed on white cardstock, presumably by Legends Playing Card Company, feel a bit more lightweight. The flaps kind of buckle under the pressure of opening them and can crease badly no matter how careful you are. In addition, they lack any kind of interior decoration. They could have really benefited from a nice foil pattern. It's a small gripe and not a problem for anyone who prefers to keep their decks sealed, but to me it's a little bit of an annoyance and I wish it had been handled differently, in large part because I love so many other aspects of these cards. All three decks share the same back design, although with some minor variation in color and materials. The Classic and Pharmacist decks are identical, both featuring metallic copper inks with the traditional two-way design. The design steals elements and design language from the front of the tuck box: the mortar and pestle, the cork top bottle, the banner with the word pharmacy written across it. There's also a pill capsule and a small iconographic meadowlark represented on the design as well. My favorite of the three, and the one that is just a spot-on recreation of the design shown on the tuck case, is the green premium edition, which features gorgeous copper-toned hot foil pressed onto the backs. This is an absolutely gorgeous printing technique that has a little effect on handling, but a massive effect on beauty. It's a technique that I personally like so much that the playing cards producer in me has cataloged it for future reference. These are completely custom decks of cards with beautifully designed pips and highly legible indices, with a nice drop shadow effect that gives it a three-dimensional feel. The pip layouts remain standard. The aces all feature large pips with tiny metal larks perched on them. The Ace of Spades, as depicted on the Pharmacist Edition box, is absolutely amazing, on par with Russ's other brilliant Ace of Spades done for the Harry Potter series. This one includes some nice spots of color, copper metallic ink, and yellow on the underbellies and chests of the singing larks. My absolute favorite aspect of the decks, however, are the brilliant borderless court cards. All of the courts feature elements and implements that play on the Meadowlark Pharmacist motif: plastic pill bottles, prescription bottles, mortar and pestle, and of course, tiny larks. But the most attractive aspect of these cards are the reimagined classic court illustrations, taking the best of the traditional courts, designs anyone would recognize, and redrawing them to include extra detail and character. There are two identical jokers as well, featuring the image of the pharmacist we saw earlier on the front of the Pharmacist Edition. As mentioned, the decks are printed by the Legends Playing Card Company with their Viper finish and handle very well indeed. It's a bit stiffer stock than Cardamundi's, for instance. I'd say it's probably closer to feel to USPCC. The hot foil, as mentioned, has little to no perceivable effect on the handling. Springs, fans, and farrows are easy and smooth to pull off. All in all, a fantastic addition to any collection with some gorgeous variants. The decks featured some pretty limited print runs and are currently only available through a few third-party retailers and, of course, eBay, worth tracking down if you ask me. If you happen to be in Hickman, Nebraska, you might be able to drop into the actual Meadowlark Pharmacy, and I suppose they may have some for sale there as well. Once more, don't forget to back the Successor if you haven't already. There are some really cool stretch goals that we'd love to open up. In the meantime, I'm going to give away a signed Successor Uncut Prism Tuck to one lucky winner. Here's what you have to do to enter. 1, like this video. 2, be a subscriber to this channel. And 3, let me know in a comment below what deck you'd most like to see me review. To check out another great review, click on the video that will appear right here. Thank you so much for watching. I've been the Gentleman Wake. See you again next time.